Hey, Photo 20. So this is your next assignment, your next lecture. This is the portrait assignment. And on the page, I have some typed out instructions for you. So let's just jump right in here. I'm going to show you guys some student examples and then some professional examples. And I hope to inspire you with that. So let's just jump right in here and share my screen, the whole desktop and share. All right. And then, yeah. All right. So let's just start right here with this. Wait, you know what? Start. Yeah, actually, we can start there. Yeah, let's just start with this. All right. So first of all, real nice portrait here. We want to focus on the eyes. So that's one of the main things you want to concentrate on when you're doing your portraits. Focus on the eyes. If the eyes are sharp and the rest of it's blurry, then they technically they say that's fine. I know some photographers who photograph with such narrow depth of field that the nose is out of focus, but the eyes are sharp. All right. So, and this one has really nice soft lighting. That's what we're looking for. All right. And the background is clean. Notice that the background is blurry and it's all kind of one tone, right? We're not seeing a lot of distracting elements back there. Real nice. Now, portrait, I said you could do a pet. Um, you know, the background here is like looks like they hung up a sheet or something at home. And I give kudos to the student for trying to create a clean background, but it's wrinkled. And so, I mean, take that extra step, maybe iron it or try for a little bit shallower depth of field. Let's see. Now they used f 5.0, but they're at a f30 or a 32 millimeter lens. So the 32 millimeter lens is just going to have wider, I mean, more depth of field because it's a wider lens. Okay. And it's also not in focus. It's not sharp. And that's because it's a slow shutter speed, 1/15 of a second. Okay. That's too slow. Um, so get that shutter speed up. They could have upped their ISO. 400. They could have gone to like 1600 and got a faster shutter speed. Okay. Now this is a cute shot. It's more like snapshot though. I'm kind of looking for a planned portrait. Okay. This has really nice lighting and it's funny, it's whimsical, and she's sharp. So it's got some of the good elements, but you know, I don't know. The more I look at this, the more I like it. But it does have a lot of distracting elements in the background. Her brother probably is giving her a dirty eye. It's funny. It's great. I mean, it's cool, but I would like to see kind of a controlled portrait. But this is fun. So here's just a basic portrait of a boy on a swing. The lighting is not great. We've got this really kind of bright highlight coming in. Looks like the sun is maybe over his shoulder. So it's causing these shadows and streaks. The glasses are causing this shadow. If you can find a way to avoid that, I would avoid that. Um, his eyes appear to be sharp. Now, by happenstance, because he's sitting and the photographer might be, a tall person, they are looking down. And look what happens. You get all green grass, a nice background, right? So that is a good technique. Stand on a stool, stand on a bench, something to look down on your subject, because if the photographer was on eye level with them, then we'd see like a parking lot back here or a white sky, and that is like a killer distraction. So we want this nice, clean, even background, and that came out nice. Um, you know what? Please don't do your portraits at night. This is kind of funky looking. The colors are weird, and I really don't want to see this. Okay. And you know, it's not going to get as many points as something like this. This is what I'm looking for. This is the beginning class. You want to master a basic beginning portrait before you move on to that artsy stuff because you got to have the foundation. And here's the foundation: sharp eyes, shallow depth of field, nice soft lighting, good editing. I mean, this is, the background is a little bit distracting because there's weird things going on back here. But for a beginning portrait, this checks all the boxes. All right. This is what I want to see. This is kind of cute. It looks like in the editing, maybe they use some negative clarity. Um, I I don't really recommend that. Um, and also, I mean, you know what? I just noticed this. There's something going on here. I don't know what it is. There's something on the grass. So check your background. Oh, there's something else here. Those are distracting to me. They're intersecting his head. So that you should have noticed when you shot the photo. Um, Here is just a basic portrait. The eyes are sharp, the lighting is soft, the background is a little bit blurry. If you pull her away, move her away from that background, it will get blurrier. Okay. So that one's nice. I wish he would be looking. I want your portraits to be looking. But this looks like it has nice lighting. The background is colorful and blurred out. I wish he was looking at me. Here's a dog portrait. This one is actually sharp in contrast to that first one. This one's nice and sharp, so that's good. And the background is kind of clean. I kind of wish we saw all of his ears because that's kind of a distinctive feature of this dog. But look at those eyes. The lighting is great. Oh, look at that. I think you can see the photographer. That's really cool. Um, you know what? Not all portraits have to be shot vertical. Here's a horizontal. Here he's also off center. So we're doing the rule of thirds, right? What boxes are we ticking here? We've got nice soft lighting. He looks pretty sharp. The background is out of focus. This ticks all the boxes for a basic beginning portrait. And it's horizontal, so they got kind of creative. And in this case, they don't the bars here kind of create this pattern. So we got rule of thirds and a pattern. So that I like that one a lot. Again, here, this is a basic good beginner's portrait. It looks sharp, the background's blurry, the lighting is nice and soft. Maybe could have boosted the exposure in Lightroom, maybe the shadows a little bit to get the eyes a little bit brighter. Or you could use now, I showed you that in one of the previous lectures, how to use the adjustment brush, right? So do that on the eyes. Um, you know what? I say don't do them indoors, but this one kind of worked. Because I don't know where it is. Is it a store or something? I'm like looking at all these cool, different colored lights. And then the girl, her eyes are sharp, and whatever is lighting her ended up being soft. A nice, even, soft light. It's really nice. So obviously this photographer may be a little bit beyond the beginning level. If you feel confident doing this, then you're welcome to do it indoors. But if you do it indoors and it's blurry due to a slow shutter speed or whatever, then I'm going to ask you to redo it. So just, if you're a beginner, do it outside. Oh, here is a little chart I want to show you. You got to zoom in a little bit. So giving you an idea, don't do a portrait with don't do a headshot with a 24 millimeter lens. Look at her nose. Her nose is not that big. All right. Um, Even a 50 millimeter lens, if it's a bigger chip, if you guys watch that sensor size lecture, excuse me, on a full frame camera, you have to get too close to their face on a full frame camera with a 50 millimeter lens to do a headshot. So 85 or even 200, notice how her features, they all kind of become more naturally sized and shaped. So that's what we are looking for. Now, I know you all don't have those long lenses. You have the 55, the 1855 kit lens. So maybe do a 3/4, like from the waist up with the 55, okay, and you'll be fine. Um, this was shot indoors as well. I really appreciate the creativity, what they were going for here. Be careful though, this has the same problem as the hand. I didn't show you the hands picture yet. That was anyway, I'll show you that in a minute. Anytime there's something close to the frame, closer, it's going to look bigger, larger. Look at his feet. Do we really think his feet are bigger than his head? Probably not. So, but the problem is they're closer to the camera, so they appear larger. And let's see what lens it was shot with. Yeah, it was shot with a 46 millimeters setting on his 18 to 55. So it's a wide angle lens. Basically, that's a wide angle lens. You know, it's almost normal, but it's more on the wide angle. So we don't want to do that. We don't want to do this type of portrait with a wide angle lens. All right. And as far as the rest of it goes, I don't think he's tack sharp. It actually looks like his laces. So you got to watch that focus, or the cup might be more in focus. Here's just a portrait of a mom and her little boy, or a little girl maybe. It's cute. The lighting is soft. The editing might be a little bit high in contrast. It looks a little bit, well, we call that kind of crunchy. Maybe he added some positive clarity or something. It looks a little, that's nice. Here's a really good pet portrait. Oh, we can see the photographer again. That's cool. Nice. Look at the background. Ooh, nice and creamy, soft. Let's see what that was shot with. So that was shot with the 34 millimeter setting at f5. So yeah, I realize now the nose does look bigger, doesn't it? So maybe a little bit close, but it works because it's a dog. Um, you know, the lighting is nice and soft, the background is blurred. She's sharp enough. It's kind of a nice, cool little pose, so that's a cool shot. This is fun. It's nice and sharp. Now, you're not going to get a blurry background when you're doing this, but it's creative. And I think maybe the flowers are encroaching a little bit on her face, but I like that. It's creative looking. It's cool. Um, this is sharp, but I hope right off the bat you notice problems. First of all, it's tilted. The background's tilted. That's a big distraction. That's distracting. The lighting is harsh. Her eyes are dark, but there's highlights here. So there was light, but maybe she's facing the wrong way. Or it's the wrong time of day. And then why not crop this? Why do we have all this up here? Crop this off, you know? Oh, and then her hand is cut off. So don't have like amputated fingers coming out from the bottom of your frame. It looks weird. So watch that. Oh, look at this. This is a really nice portrait. Sharp eyes, contrasty background. She's got that, pale skin, and then the background's dark. This is ideal because the background does not compete at all with your subject here. This is beautiful. So my question here is, why are the feet cut off? So make sure you check your whole frame. All right, are we done yet? Did we get to the end? Nope, a couple more. So on that one, real quick, don't cut the feet off if you're going to do full length. Look we've got all this space. Why are the feet cut off? And that one, this student was a little bit more advanced. He asked if he could do spot color. I told him it was okay. Notice the background is black and white, and he did that. But unless you know how to do that, or please ask permission. This is a black and white conversion. It looks a little bit gray, a little bit flat. It needs I think the blacks need to be a little blacker, but it's a cute, fun shot. Blurry background. I'm going a little bit long here, longer than expected. Real quick, what I want to show on this, that line in the bricks, just move her over so that there's no line intersecting her head. Okay. Now, some of you might not notice that, but I notice it right away. So we don't want anything growing out of their head. Another one, dog portrait. Okay, that's good. Look at the background's nice and blurred. Good. All right. All right. Now I want to show some. Now this is a professional headshot photographer. His name is, let me find his name real quick. Sorry. Oh, Jordan Matter. And his actually says that he no longer does headshots, but his headshots are killer. Now some of them are indoor studio, but I think, and I'm gonna show you a video real quick how he does a lot of these. A lot of these are outdoors. Look at that. Now he has probably more professional lenses. So his backgrounds are going to be more blurry than you might be able to achieve because he has wider aperture lenses. He can get even shallower depth of field. But don't worry about that. Look at the lighting on these. Real nice soft lighting. Look at that. Again, soft lighting. That's what we're going for. Here's an indoor portrait with a window light, most likely coming off the side of his face. And the background is lit by regular old light bulbs. So it's kind of that yellowy incandescent. So it creates a nice contrast. That's cool. I'll put the link to to this photographer. I'll put all these links so you guys can see these on your own. Here's a nice outdoor portrait. I'm just going to go through these real quick. I spent a lot of time on the other ones longer than I wanted to. Great lighting, beautiful, beautiful portrait, beautiful light. Here's a fun shot of Penn from Penn and Teller, you know, the magician. It's outdoors, obviously, but again, beautiful light. And he does have an assistant who holds a reflector, and I'll show you in the video. So I'm not going to go through the rest of those real quick. I do want to show you this video real quick. So here's him outside shooting. Now, he has this, no, he's doing a window light portrait. He does have an assistant who's holding a reflector, but here he doesn't. So just, you know what, nice window portrait, but they want to get that light back up on the face. Look at all the, you know, we saw all those. I'm gonna post this video.
It shows up in the shot.
So one thing I want to talk about, look at this subject is talking about how fun the photographer is. He's chatting with them. He's having fun, and it makes them at ease. It really improves the portraits. If you seem nervous or uptight, or you had a bad breakfast or whatever, your coffee was wrong, you know, you got to leave that mindset behind when you go on a portrait shoot. You want your subject to feel comfortable, at ease, and that's what these guys are saying. You can watch this video on your own, but that's what we're looking for. That's what you want to do. I know some of you probably want to become portrait photographers. You've got to have an outgoing personality. You've got to be able to talk to them, joke with them, have fun. All right. So I'll post a link for that. Now, a friend of mine is pet photographer, and she's like, I don't know, she's probably the best pet photographer I know. I'll post a link also to her website. Now notice all of these. What's the most common thing? She is down on their level, right? Of course, the background is blurred, the lighting is soft. She does do a lot of Photoshop work. But the blurriness, the lighting, that's all on location. With her long lenses and her good eye for light. Beautiful portraits. She just does, wins a lot of awards and beautiful portraits. Now, just real quick, Ann Geddes is a famous baby photographer. How long I've been talking? 20 minutes, looks like. She's been around for a long time. Her claim to fame is like babies and sometimes whimsical photos of babies. Like, look at this. Here's a whole section on florals. I'll post a link to this too. I mean, I don't expect you guys to do this, but this is, this is meant to inspire you. And look at what other photographers have done. This is cool. Look at that. It looks like he's a seed pod. Isn't that awesome? So that is so cool. Let me go back. How do I go back? Menu, galleries. So the black and white, classic images. Let's see what her classic images are. Look, I mean, just an assortment. There's a mom. That's a flower, but there's another mom with her babies. There's like a family. There's maternity. There's another maternity. Look at that. I mean, soft lighting, or I mean, soft focus, probably. Now, she's been a photographer for a long time. That might not be digital. she might have actually, in the old days, in the real old days, we would take like an old filter, that you screw on the front of your lens, and rub Vaseline on it and look through it, and it would give you this soft, ethereal look. And then you could clean it off. If you put too much on, you clean it off, try to go for a little bit less. It's fun to experiment. Find an old filter, or find a filter at Amazon that's like a $5 filter or something. It's fun. Again, just traditional. These are anything but traditional, to be honest, but classic photos. So that's Ann Geddes. She has lots of galleries you guys should look through. And another one real quick, Annie Leibovitz. This is her Instagram. She is probably like the most famous celebrity photographer, at least, from my time. And look, she's still doing. Here's Denzel Washington. These are recent. What's that? Jake Gyllenhaal. I don't know who the other guy is. You know, and a lot of her shots, she steps back and kind of shows some of the set pieces. So that's cool. Look, there's an outdoor portrait. That's like more like an environmental type portrait where you can see that tree. Here's an environmental portrait. An environmental portrait is a shot that shows the subject in their environment. So I don't know who this guy is, but let's see. Anyway, it's for Vogue magazine. She shoots for magazines. Now she chose here, and definitely, and let me tell you right now, this is not deep depth of field by accident. She did this on purpose because she wants you to be able to see. I assume it's this guy's work. I don't know. Maybe it's his work. She wants you to be able to see that. She knows how to control depth of field. She did that on purpose. Here is just a fun stylized shot. That's one of her claim to fames, is these crazy stylized shots. So she has a whole team of, I have a video I'll post in a couple of weeks behind the scenes on her. Here's some cool shots. So anyway, that's Annie Leibovitz, her Instagram page. Here's a website which has, it's just the top 25 best portrait photographers of all time. I don't know who compiled this list. It may or may not be something you agree with, but these are some photographers that I recognize, and you can go and check them out for inspiration, and I encourage you to do so. Scroll through this, and if you find something you really like, go investigate more. Dorothea Lange, she was a photographer in the Dust Bowl era, the Depression, and this is actually one of her most famous photos. It's called The Migrant Mother, and there's a whole story behind this, and I'm going to post a video. I have a video of a guy who actually did like an investigative piece, and it's really interesting about this. She became famous, but she didn't want to be famous because of that photo. Because to her, it was embarrassing because she was poor and she was destitute. But that video will be coming in a couple weeks. Richard Avedon, he's famous for just these crazy wild portraits. Here, this guy's covered in bees. A lot of his portraits are just crazy stuff like that. Yusuf Karsh, he's not alive anymore. But he has a lot of these traditional portraits of royalty, and just a lot of great work. I mean, he actually did a lot of stuff. Steve McCurry, I have a lecture coming up towards the end on famous photographers. He's on that list, so you should look him up. Philippe Halsman, I don't even know all of these. Looks like, is that Marilyn Monroe? Yeah, so that's cool, I think. There's a cool shot. Look at that. Herb Ritz, he has a lot of cool stuff. Helmut Newton. A lot of these photographers are from the olden days, early days, but great nonetheless. I mean, these works they don't expire. They're timeless. Great photography is timeless. And Annie Leibovitz, we've already talked about her. Look at that. Look at that. Her shots are just fun. That looks like Will Smith. But anyway, he's on a horse. That's cool. Sally Mann, Bruce Gilden, Dan Winters, William Klein. I'm gonna link to this too. So go through this. I'm going longer than I wanted to here. So when you do your portraits, just real quick, a couple final tips. Remember to use the longest lens you have. I mean, or if you have like the 70 to 300, use it at 70 or 100 around there. Use the widest aperture. So if you have the 18 to 55 and that's all you have, set your zoom at 55, set your aperture at 5.6, use aperture priority, set it to 5.6, make sure your ISO is high enough so that your shutter speed is not too slow. You want a shutter speed at least a 60th of a second for 55 millimeters. Remember that shutter speed rule. If you can set it to 1/125th, even better. All right, so you want your ISO up. Excuse me. Don't do it indoors. Find nice soft lighting. Side of a building. Sorry, my dinner or something. Nice soft lighting, the side of a building, overcast sky. Indoors, if you have a nice light, if you have enough light coming in, but be careful. Remember that one photo that was blurry. Be careful of your shutter speed. Okay. All right, you guys. Thank you so much for watching, and I really look forward to seeing your portraits. And see you next time.